welcome to the deep dive. So you're driving an electric vehicle in New York City.
Right.
And you know the challenge, that constant hunt for a working charger, hoping the battery holds out.
It's a real thing, yeah.
You're looking for clear answers, right?
Yeah.
Good solutions, but without getting totally bogged down in tech specs.
Exactly. You want the bottom line.
So let's get into it. Today, our source is info straight from BCharge.DV. They're talking about their mobile EV charging service here in NYC, specifically looking ahead to 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And our mission, really, is to figure out what actually makes a mobile charging service the best in this, well, unique city environment.
And how BCharge.EV thinks they fit that bill. Because best in NYC isn't like best anywhere else.
Totally different beast.
It's about managing logistics in, like, organized chaos, basically.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Your battery's flashing red, Midtown. What has to be there for a mobile service to be, actually helpful?
Okay, first thing, response time. It's critical.
Right. Gridlock. Range anxiety kicking in hard.
Yeah, every minute counts. So the service needs a really smart dispatch, something that gets around the traffic jams.
And people who know the streets.
Exactly. Street smart technicians. Not just guys who know chargers, but know how to get there fast.
Makes sense. Having the best gear doesn't help if it arrives tomorrow.
Precisely. Which leads to the next point, operational reliability.
Meaning
The equipment works every time. No breakdowns.
Yeah, imagine calling for a charge and their van breaks down.
You can't have that in NYC. It has to be flawless. Trained professionals, dependable gear, high-pressure situation,
Definitely. And coverage can't just be like lower Manhattan, right?
No way. It needs to be comprehensive borough coverage. Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx.
Staten Island.
Ideally, Staten Island too, yeah. And maybe even a bit beyond into the metro area, basically wherever range anxiety might hit you.
Okay. And when they finally get there, they need to give you a real charge, not just, fumes.
Absolutely. Effective charging power. We're talking a good level 2 charge, minimum.
So something that adds real miles, quickly.
Yeah, enough range to actually get you going again, not just limp to the next maybe working public charger. A meaningful charge.
Okay. That's the technical side. What about the customer experience part?
Super important. Transparent pricing. Clear, upfront costs.
No surprises, especially when you're already stressed.
Right. You need to know what you're paying, and it should make sense for the NYC market. And tied to that, just making it easy to call for help.
Effortless contact, yeah.
Like the source gives the number, 888-675-9555. Having that handy, making the call simple, huge.
Because fumbling with a clunky app when your battery's dead is the worst.
It really is. And one more thing, thinking bigger picture.
Fleets.
Taxis, delivery vans, all those commercial EVs. A top service needs sophisticated fleet solutions, scheduled charging, emergency support, the whole deal.
It really does sound like NYC throws unique curveballs at EV charging.
Oh, it does. The source digs into these challenges.
So what makes it so tough? Let's list them out.
Well, number one, obviously, traffic, the legendary gridlock.
Which doesn't just slow you down.
It actively eats your battery and makes reaching a fixed charger a whole project.
Then there's parking, or lack thereof.
Exactly. Parking scarcity. And the rules. Finding a legal spot near a charger, good luck sometimes.
And even if you find one, can you actually use it for charging without getting ticketed or towed?
That's the million-dollar question. Then you have just the sheer urban density.
Tight streets, double parking.
Makes navigating tricky, finding a safe spot for service even harder. It takes, real urban know-how.
And getting between boroughs.
Bridges and tunnels.
Yeah.
Tolls add up, delays happen, that impacts costs and how fast help can arrive.
Right. A call from Queens to Brooklyn isn't always straightforward.
Not at all. And what about the public chargers themselves?
Often busy, broken.
High demand, definitely. Leads to queues, reliability issues. You can't always count on them being available or working when you get there.
Plus, you're competing for juice with everyone else.
Yeah, diverse vehicle usage. Taxis, ride shares, delivery vans, personal EVs. Everyone needs power. It's a crowded energy landscape.
Wow. Okay, so it's a genuinely challenging environment. How does BCharge.EV plan to tackle this specifically for 2025?
Well, the source says they see themselves as more than just, a van with a charger attached.
You're thinking NYC specific.
Exactly. Engineered for NYC. Their whole mission is about being that reliable lifeline when your battery runs low in this specific, demanding place.
So it's the logistics, the NYC know-how, not just the electricity.
Precisely. They talk about strategic dispatch, technicians who get the city, and robust equipment that won't fail.
Trying to be the go-to, anticipating needs for 2025.
Right, and they mention their website for more info, bchargedev.com.
Okay, let's break down the key features BCharge EV is highlighting. What makes them think they're the NYC choice?
Well, first is that NYC-centric dispatch we talked about.
Not just a generic map app.
No, it's built to handle NYC traffic, borough logistics, real-time conditions to get there faster. They specifically mention emergency charging, too.
That focus on speed in this city seems paramount. What else?
Urban operations expertise. Their technicians are trained for dense, high-traffic situations,
Including the parking puzzle.
including managing parking safely and legally in tight spots. That's a specific skill here.
Definitely is. What about where they operate?
Targeted borough coverage. They focus on reliable service across key areas of the 5 boroughs.
But as you said, maybe double-check specifics?
Yeah, the source is clear. Always best to call and confirm for your exact location, especially maybe on the edges or Staten Island.
Got it. And the charge itself?
Impactful charging speeds, level 2 or better, they say. Enough to add significant range quickly.
So you're not stuck waiting forever for a tiny boost.
Exactly. And they also stress being professional and insured.
Peace of mind, basically.
Right. Background check techs, full insurance, offers a level of trust.
And cost.
Clear competitive pricing, tailored for NYC. They want you to call 888-675-9555 for an upfront quote.
Back to that transparency point.
And finally, that dedicated NYC fleet support we mentioned, custom plans for businesses.
Which is huge for commercial operators.
A big part of the city's EV ecosystem.
Okay, let's drill down on that coverage area again.
Right.
What does the source specifically say about boroughs and maybe nearby areas?
Okay, so Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens are listed as primary reliable service areas.
The core.
The core, yeah. Then the Bronx is included. Staten Island is mentioned as potential coverage.
But with a caveat.
Right. Explicitly says confirm availability for Staten Island by calling. That's important. Don't assume.
Understood. Core 3 plus the Bronx. Check for Staten Island. What about just over the river or border? Jersey, Westchester, Long Island.
The source does mention potential coverage nearby. For New Jersey, it specifically notes cities like Jersey City and Hoboken.
Okay.
For Westchester, Yonkers is mentioned. And for Long Island, Nassau County. But, and this is really key, you absolutely need to call them at 888-675-9555 to verify the current precise service boundaries outside the 5 boroughs.
Because service areas can change.
Exactly. Policies change, operations expand, or contract. Always call to confirm for those outer areas.
Good advice. So for you listening, if you're on the edge or outside the boroughs, make that call. 888-675-955. Don't guess.
Definitely.
Now, the source also compares BCharge DV to other ways you might try to get a charge on the go in NYC. How do they stack up?
Well, they position themselves, BCharge DV, with the professional vans as the reliable choice.
Because
NYC trained techs, dedicated vehicles, good level 2+ chargers, borough knowledge, ideal for emergencies, great for fleets needing consistency.
Okay, what about like those gig economy apps? Someone shows up in their own car, maybe.
The source flags potential variability there. While they might operate in NYC, you don't know who you'll get.
Hit or miss.
Could be. Arrival time, the kind of equipment they have, their skill in handling dense city streets, it might vary a lot. Less predictable.
Right. And what about just buying one of those big portable power stations? Keep it in the trunk.
The source basically says that's impractical for NYC.
Why that?
Super slow charging, usually level 1, adds very little range. They're heavy, awkward to carry around or deploy safely on a busy street.
Yeah, I can picture that being a hassle.
And they're expensive. For what you get, probably not worth it in this context.
Okay, so last resort, call a tow truck.
You could if you're totally stranded, but the source points out downsides.
Slow. Expensive.
Potentially both, yeah. Tow trucks get stuck in traffic too. Costs can be high. And there's zero guarantee the operator knows anything about EVs or can give you a charge. They'd just tow you, maybe to a dealer or charger.
So less efficient, probably more costly than a dedicated mobile charge.
That's the argument BCharged EV seems to be making. They're aiming to be the professional, NYC-savvy, dependable option compared to these others.
Got it. So if you do need them, what's the step-by-step? How does it work?
Pretty simple process, according to the source. Step 1, call 888-675-9555.
When you need the charge.
Right. Then, step 2, locate. Tell them exactly where you are in NYC and what kind of EV you have.
Make and model.
Yep. Step 3, confirm. They'll give you a price quote and an ETA.
Okay.
Step 4, meet. The technician arrives in the BCharged EV van. Step 5, charge. They safely hook up and give you that meaningful charge.
And step 6.
Go. Get back on your way.
Simple enough. And yeah, they really want you to save that number, 888-675-9555.
Seems like it.
All right, let's hit some FAQs, questions you might have. The source tackles a few common ones. First, Midtown Manhattan, rush hour. How long will it really take them to get to me?
And the source gives an honest answer. NYC traffic is, well, NYC traffic, especially Midtown at rush hour.
No magic wands.
No magic
Okay.
wands. They use their optimized dispatch. They aim to be efficient, but delays can happen. The key is they'll give you the most realistic ETA they can when you call that number, 888-675-9555.
And the goal is still faster than waiting for a tow.
That's the goal, yes.
Yeah.
More efficient than the alternative in the same jam.
Okay, realistic expectations. Next, do they guarantee service 24/7 in all 5 boroughs?
Again, clarity is key here. The source suggests broad coverage, especially in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, potential in the Bronx and Staten Island.
But not a hard guarantee everywhere all the time.
Not explicitly stated as a blanket 24/7 guarantee for every single spot. The advice remains. Call 888-675-9555 to confirm immediate availability for your specific location and time. There could be limits.
So definitely call first. Don't just assume based on a general map. What about this tricky one? My EV died, and there's literally no legal parking spot anywhere nearby. What happens?
Right, a very NYC problem. The source says their techs are trained for this.
How so?
They'll arrive, assess the situation safely and legally. They'll figure out how to provide the service without causing chaos.
Maybe coordinate traffic briefly, find the nearest safe spot.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Working within the rules, finding the best practical legal way to get you charged.
Good to know they've thought about that. Okay, cost again. Is B-Charge AV way more expensive than just finding a public garage charger?
It's a value comparison. Garage rates vary wildly in NYC.
And parking fees can be killer.
Exactly. B-Charge AV's pitch is that their service saves you the time hunting for a garage, finding a working spot, plus potentially saves you those high hourly parking fees.
So for an emergency roadside need,
They argue it can actually be more time efficient and potentially cost effective overall once you factor everything in. But again,
call 888-675-9555 for their specific rates.
that's the consistent message. Get a quote.
Makes sense. Last FAQ. How do they handle charging for those busy NYC taxi and delivery fleet?
They have specific plans for them. NYC fleet charging plans.
Tailored how?
Designed for high use.
Oh.
Can include scheduled charging routes to minimize downtime, plus rapid emergency response across their service areas for those fleet vehicles.
So a focused B2B approach for those critical services.
Looks like it, recognizing their specific needs.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive. What's the main takeaway on B-Charge EV and mobile charging in NYC for 2025?
I think the key thing is that B-Charged EV is positioning itself as a solution built specifically for NYC's unique craziness.
Not just a generic service dropped into the city.
Right. They're focusing on speed, reliability, knowing the boroughs, having the right equipment, all aimed at overcoming those specific NYC hurdles we talked about.
And it really hammers home that you have to consider those hurdles: traffic, parking, density, when you're thinking about any mobile EV service here.
Absolutely. A service that isn't designed for New York City probably won't cut it when you're actually stuck and need help. It needs that local intelligence.
So here's a final thought for you, our listener, as you navigate EV life in the city, or maybe think about getting an EV here. How will services like B-Charged EV need to keep evolving? What comes next to meet the needs of urban drivers, both personal and commercial, in places like New York?
Yeah, how does this adapt as even more EVs hit these already crowded streets? Interesting question.
Definitely something to think about for the future of city transport. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.